All right, let's talk about Emirates. For an airline that literally started in 1985 with just 2 planes, its story is, well, it's pretty incredible. In less than 3 decades, it exploded onto the scene to become this absolute titan of global aviation, a name everybody knows for its huge fleet and, that fancy service.
And when I say huge, I really mean it. Get this, in 2013, they made a single order for 150 brand new Boeing 777X planes. The price tag? A mind-blowing $76 billion. That was, and still is, the largest single aircraft deal in history. So that just begs the question, right? How on earth did an airline that started with just $10 million in seed money get to a place where it's dropping deals of that size? How did it so completely redraw the map of how we fly around the world? Well, it really boils down to 3 absolutely brilliant core ideas.
The first pillar, and you could argue it's the most important one, is pure geography. See, Emirates' single greatest strategic asset isn't a plane or some fancy business plan. It's the piece of dirt its home airport is built on. It is all about the power of the mega hub.
Now, the whole hub-and-spoke model, that wasn't new. But what Emirates did was weaponize it on a global scale. So instead of flying point to point, say from Manchester to Bangkok, almost every single Emirates flight funnels through its one massive hub in Dubai. This lets them connect a crazy number of cities that would never ever have enough passengers for a direct flight on their own. And it turns out Dubai is the perfect place for this strategy. It sits at the literal crossroads of the world: Europe, Asia, Africa. It doesn't have the insane air traffic jams you see over London or Paris, and the weather is so good they can basically operate 24/7. But the real kicker is its proximity to people.
And this number just says it all. An unbelievable 2/3 of the entire world's population lives within an 8-hour flight of Dubai. Just pause and think about that for a second. That is a geographic advantage that is almost impossible to compete with.
Okay, so you've got this amazing location. That's one thing, but you have to know how to actually use it. And that brings us to the second pillar, the incredible operational machine that Emirates built to turn that geography into a network that spans the entire globe.
Their formula was so simple, but it was just devastatingly effective. They'd look for big cities with really poor air connections. Think of places in Pakistan or Sri Lanka that were maybe only served by a local airline with super high fares. Emirates would just swoop in, offer a one-stop service to basically anywhere in the world through Dubai, and lock up that market before anyone knew what was happening. Funnel all that traffic through the hub, and suddenly all your planes are full and incredibly efficient.
And here's where the Dubai hub gets really clever. It sits perfectly at the intersection of not one, but 2 massive growing travel flows. You've got the traditional Europe to Asia route, sure, but you also have the booming connection between China and Africa. I mean, if you're a business traveler in Guangzhou trying to get to Nairobi, does it make more sense to fly through London or through Dubai? It's a no-brainer.
This whole strategy just put them in a different league from the old guard. While legacy carriers were stuck dealing with aging planes, really complex systems with multiple hubs, and expensive union contracts, Emirates was just lean and fast. They had a young, fuel-efficient fleet, one central hub to worry about, and they stayed independent, avoiding all the bureaucracy of those big airline alliances.
So they had the perfect location and the perfect network, but that still wasn't enough. The third pillar was all about making people want to fly with them. And, as their president Tim Clark said, they had to stop thinking like a bus company and start bringing some of that old-school glamour back to flying.
And oh, did they ever. We are talking about things like first-class private suites with closing doors, showers you can actually use at 35,000 feet on the A380, a full-service walk-up bar. At a time when most airlines were cutting everything back, Emirates just doubled down on the premium experience. And it worked. They've won hundreds of industry awards for it.
But how do you tell the world about all this? Well, their marketing playbook was brilliantly simple and global. They needed to reach a ton of people, everywhere, all at once. The answer? Sports. They put their name on the jerseys of some of the biggest soccer clubs in the world, like Arsenal and Real Madrid. They sponsored cricket, they sponsored tennis, and almost overnight, the Emirates brand became instantly recognizable, from Brazil to South Korea. So you've got geography, an efficient network, and a premium brand. That was the magic formula. But the big question now is, can this unbelievable growth actually continue? Because the skies ahead, well, they're not exactly clear. For starters, they're not the only ones playing this game anymore.
You've got these powerful competitors like Qatar Airways, Etihad, and Turkish Airlines that have popped up. And guess what? They're all using a very similar mega hub model, they're all backed by their governments, and they're all competing like crazy on premium service. The secret's out.
And remember that decision to stay independent? It gave them a ton of flexibility for sure, but it also means they're kind of a lone ranger in a world where the three big alliances, Star Alliance, SkyTeam, and oneworld, control over 80% of all global air traffic. That makes it way harder to get passengers onto their planes from markets they don't fly to directly.
And on top of all that, they're facing challenges from every direction. You've got governments trying to protect their own airlines by blocking Emirates, their own hub in Dubai is getting seriously crowded, the competition is copying their every move, and then there are the really big, looming questions. Who takes over from the guy who built all this, Tim Clark? And can the single hub model that made them a giant even work forever?
Which really leaves us with the ultimate question. The very strategy that powered Emirates' incredible rise, that single, dominant mega hub, could now be its biggest weakness. So to keep growing, will the airline that famously connected the world have to fundamentally change how it connects?